Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's fascinating to. I've always had a strong connection with astrology. I haven't obviously studied it to the level and degree of which you have, but everything you said just made sense. Like it explains why we've had the pandemic, if you want. I don't like to call it a pandemic, but yeah. We have Dr. Ugandhar entering the waiting room, so I guess I should let him in.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we'll just wait for Wei Ching to return and Johannes to pop his camera back on, and we'll start our panel discussion. I always find it fascinating how even you guys speaking has just expanded upon the first session when we were speaking so much about the importance of being strong within ourselves and awakening ourselves before we can expect the awakening of the global population. And it's you just said a lot of things about this, all of the alignment bringing us right back to bare bones and the shadows.
That's
and
the value of seeing the whole view, isn't it? That one can be quite excited by a clear recognition that this is taking place, whether we see it or want it or recognize it or not. This is taking place, and the more individuals that are enjoying that, then there'll be more of a celebration of the unique opportunity that we're all being offered. And in fact, that was one of the reasons why I thought of this. To make these comments about particularly the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. A lot of people on planet Earth know, but a lot of people don't know the deeper significance of this conjunction. So this is why I wanted to draw attention to how we can cooperate with this, but also that it's like a depth charge. It really kind of like opens out and removes a lot of old thought forms, and the obvious problem thought form is fear. Fear is the most dominant thought form on the planet. So all of our work, whatever we're doing as individuals and groups, part of it is the elimination of fear. And that only occurs with the rising and raising of the levels of love. There's no other equation, and this is, if more people understood this, there'll be, like where there's fear destroys the immune system. All right. And in our example, it's a fantastic challenge by the universe. When COVID-19 appears, you either respond in fear, which reduces immunity levels, or you respond with a sense of love, which therefore, by definition, will raise the immunity levels. It's as simple as that. It's either you respond in fear or you respond in love.
Well, there's only one way for me. Dr. Ugandhar, welcome.
Yes, I see you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Derek. Thank you,
I saw you come into the room. I thought I might let you in. Lovely to have you join us. We're just waiting on Johannes to come back on camera just before we start the panel discussion. But we could get started while we're waiting. So as everyone's aware, the discussion for this panel is the transformation of the present education system to take it to the next level. And I might hand that over to Derek. Oh, there's Johannes there. Have you met Dr. Ugandhar, Johannes and Derek?
Yes and no. I mean, we have met, but we haven't really met. So, but we are meeting.
Perfect.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
We're in the process now. See, this is a good use of time.
Definitely
Making a
is.
friend of time, which is what we've been talking about in the last discussion.
Perfect.
I feel so expanded here. Just amazing expansion and illumination.
So Dr. Lee,
how
would
do
you
we conduct this panel discussion? I mean, do you introduce certain themes, or how do we do this?
Yeah, I was just going to invite Dr. Lee to kick it off for us, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, I love to. I have so many questions. I took so many notes. But one thing that came to me that this is really so key to bring in the 432 hertz of love into the planet. And I like to link what Johannes was saying also in the pyramids and the sacred sites, as well as the astrological aspects of your work, Derek. And let's see how we can merge that together in something. I don't know if you're delving deep into astrocartography.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
whether you could speak into that, especially in this time with concentration of COVID or people finding themselves in certain places where it's unexpected. They say, oh, we didn't expect to be locked down in this place. So as human beings, we are guided to be certain places to be transmitters and amplifiers of this love, since we're doing the spiritual unity consciousness work. So if you could just speak into that, so we could have each one of us a situational and astrological perspective.
Okay, Johannes, would you like to start?
Yeah, I'd like to. In these times, I always, from the beginning, I said COVID is a gift to us. It's a gift to the world because it breaks up all structures and puts us in chaos, because one of the cosmic laws is you can never change from one order to the next order without going to chaos between. And so I knew when the COVID was present that we are going to that chaos. It gives us the big chance to get to a new order at a higher level. And what I've heard from you, Derek, was the astrological explanation. All the time I said only, aha, that's wow. Huh? And so people, we all together come together to build up that new order. And we build up that new order by pyramids, by explanations, by information, and create a special energy in the new world. I've been in another group. I'm invited to 5 groups who do every morning at 6:30 meditation for the world and for our growth and heart, a new life from the heart. Did I catch your question right?
Yes, and how would you relate that to grounding it in the new matrix and new order in terms of the educational system? Would it be also within the architecture, in the curriculum? So since we are all building new matrices of being, you know, when this transition, how do you see it in the education system?
That's, you mean school education for kids or
kids or adults? Yeah. Sacred geometry, we all know about this.
Schools are coming to me and ask me to install crystals and pyramids there to get the new feeling to the kids, that they are not so in fear or in stress. And I have the feeling that the parents are educated from their kids, not around. So the kids show us what is really the need for a new life with from the heart and from wealth and prosperity and fulfillment of connections. And I always said the common the common task what we have for our incarnation, the common of all people alive, is to grow. Grows, and where to grow to was the question of in a speech I did, and I answered from my heart, from my intuition, it's to God, whatever God means. And I said, God is all what is, all what exists, the stars, the planets, the human beings, the animals, Mother Earth, the crystals, the plants, all together connected in love is God. And that's the greater task what we have, to bring all together, to connect all together with love. And that's the task we are going now in.
So could I take that point up, because
Yes,
this is the real true education for the future. It's occurring in certain areas already, but we have to look at the ability to link up the various parts of our being, because education up to this point primarily has been backward looking. In other words, you work with the historical dimension. It's not about forward looking. There are exceptions, but generally speaking, it's about that. So one of the symbols that you also gave, you said about meditation at 6:30. Well, I've been part of a group in India and other places that meditate at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the evening. And I give you that as a symbol, because if you, sorry, this is the sun, but if you take a circle and you draw a line, a vertical line going from top to bottom, right? A top to bottom of a circle of spirit, that is a statement of what we would call the science of antakarana, meaning the linking as above with below. So this point about, I would enjoy that there was more awareness about connecting globally at 6 o'clock in the evening, 6 o'clock in the morning, because it's a very important energy point on planet Earth for connectedness with as above. So then we're back to the whole idea of, what is education? Well, primarily it's been the development of the concrete mind. I spend most of my 60 plus years in this part of the world working and helping people to deal with developing the intuition, to trust this part of their consciousness. But as we all know, there's a tendency for left and right brain hemispheres not to be bridged, but still with the enormous statistical information and wonderful books that have been coming out for the last 25 years, still our educational systems are still memory exercises. It's about remembering things. I can't think of a worse scenario for deadening the human spirit than keep on. It's fine to learn about the past. We need the past, but where the main focus is the accumulation of facts and left brain hemisphere. We need both. We need the dance, and we need to facilitate a greater awareness. And certainly with the teachers, many of the normal, what we call focus school, normal school teachers that I have as clients, I could shake them. I want to rattle them, because where do we go with this if they are still perpetuating the development of the concrete mind and not the dance with the concrete and the abstract mind? We're still going to labor under this wrong reference points. So, that's just a point I wanted to make here.
Very good point. And also in terms of unity consciousness, the new curriculum has to look at cross-cultural realities of, let's say, geometry, where it was developed, let's say in Persia or Sumerian cultures or Egyptian cultures. This is not taught in school. And it's just like you just have to learn point blank the sacred geometry of, let's say, the pyramid, the triangle. So how are we going to make this exciting, for the new human, the new child? Then the children coming in are teachers. They are much, much more attuned than we are. For example, Johannes, if you were going to write in a curriculum, the structure of a pyramid. Why does the pyramid hold such potent energy at the Fibonacci spiral, for example, or the golden mean? How do you explain the right angle and how it becomes a Nautilus energy? So, and how to make it exciting and interactive, you know, for children, and you know, like something like this, for example, you know, and why does it work? Well, how does it relate to Tesla's energy? And why would ancient oils or seeds still be vital in a pyramid after thousands and thousands of years? So I think we have to have this holistic view on one thing and how to make it exciting. So I ask both of you, like, how to astrology too is, I think, a very relevant subject to be had in the new curriculum. So how do you both embody, how would you write the new curriculum for education for the future, the present?
One word, multi-dimensionality.
There we have it.
One word.
Perfect.
To teach people to enjoy and recognize and work towards the fact that we are multi-dimensional beings, and that the curriculum must emphasize that.
So how would you do that astrology-wise?
Just one theme. If you look at, you know, the three, you know, the reading, writing, and working with some form of basic arithmetic or geometry, this is the basis of all normal education. Fine, we need that, but why do we need that? Because it teaches the creative functions of the mind. So behind all this is an idea. That behind anything, whether we talk about, you know, the writing, the words, the letters, there's an idea, there's an intelligence. Why, if we are helping individuals and groups in the future to look at what's the idea behind the form, the more that there's this interaction and dance, then we have what's called a continuity in consciousness. Right. So then, I mean, I have 3 children, and they ask me, why should we learn this? Why do we need to learn that? And I give them the answers that I can give them. It's not about.
Well, I have a say here. I think human beings are programmed to be a community, but we have been educated and trained to be individuals. Narcissists. That's where it's all gone.
Right.
Once when the Catholics went to Africa and they had a sports day, so all the kids were all lined up and said, on your mark, get set, go. And all the kids hold hands and ran together. Because for them, it was community. And that's what this whole new consciousness is about. In the 60s, there was a revolution of love. Now we have a revolution of unconditional love. It's time to visualize a humanity, a religion that is inclusive of all religion, a Sangha that is inclusive of all Sanghas. And education has to transform. I mean, I see the better the school, the better the college, Yale student, Harvard student, you know, Eton. I have many students that went all this amazingly poor school. I said, you guys been educated wrong. You have to imagine human being as a jigsaw puzzle. If a human race was a jigsaw puzzle, every single human being is a piece in it. That's why every single one of you is important to complete the big picture. That is the new consciousness, to understand that we are all one in different karmic bodies. We all here come with a different purpose. And I think consciousness is changing. I personally believe 20 years of golden age has passed. If you are conscious about it, human being is transforming. I was the last speaker for Deepak Chopra in the millennium. And my message then was, in the last millennium, there was only one Buddha. In the coming millennium, I hope to see thousands of Buddhas born, because every single one of you have a seed of Buddha.
Thank you, Romeo. Everyone, Derek and Johannes, I'd like to introduce Romeo Shastra, who is a master in Tanka painting, and suddenly he knows the sacred geometry of placement and beauty in the Tankas. And Romeo, when is your time to speak? I
haven't a clue.
Okay, never mind. I'm sure you'll look out for that. And of course, art is a very intrinsic form of education. So I will move to Johannes to talk about your embodiment in a curriculum in the future education system on math and sacred geometry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Romeo. Completely my thinking and feeling. Thank you. And what my contribution is and how I put that to life is, for instance, I go to the school I founded, or I co-founded, and teach the people the 7 laws, the 7 cosmic laws. And they learn so much about it, and they are excited, and they want to know, and they realize things, what someone thinks will happen, and they understand it, and that's a new learning. On the other hand, I was invited. It's like a guidance. I don't know where I come to this task. Is I was invited to a group who is doing money building and money education, and of course there's some attitude behind where the people want to make money. And I don't know how I come in there. I was invited and everything was fitting. And one of the speakers about mindset to money could not talk on one day. And they asked me to jump in for the talk in front of about 60 people, which came to hear about money building and money education, what is actually in German the same word, education and building. And I started to talk, and I was guided from that moment. I did not know what I talk, but it came to what values do you bring to the world? What is that reason why you are here? And so when you do that, you don't need to think about money. Everything will flow to you, because you are the unique person, unique soul which comes to this planet. And thank you, Romeo, for the example of the jigsaw puzzle. And when one piece is missing, we are not growing enough. We are being behind. We don't live the love here on earth. And so when your astrology talk, Derek, came to me, I said permanently, aha, and I learned so much from you. And wherever we go out, we fill that place in, that we are on a common track, that we go to connecting together, not to have the competition. Competition is gone. It's over. We need to work together, and that can I feel everywhere. And my presentation to the money people is always there. Whenever you make business to someone, before to go to him or talk to him, go to your heart and send from the back of your heart a light beam to the heart of that person, and fill that person's heart with your heart, and tell them in mind, from your soul, from your heart, we both may win, but also our companies, but also our customers, but also our people who work for us, employees, all in that circle may win. And when I taught, I coached a manager of an IT company who wanted to come in business with a big European oil company. He said, he told me that then, and I said to the oil company boss, you send also the nature may win as well. And a week later, this company stopped the exploring of gas and oil with fracking, which is a bad habit, which is dangerous for nature and people. They stopped doing that. So that came to me what individual power we have from our heart. And sacred geometry is supporting that. Because when you look at the form of the heart, that's Fibonacci spirals, two polarized Fibonacci spirals. That's our heart. And that has a reason why it has the form, because we use it that way.
Johan, thank you. Thank you. And Romeo as well, and Derek, the synchronization between you gentlemen is absolutely magnificent.
Yes.
I'd like to ask Dr. Ugandhar if he would like to weigh into the panel discussion. I'd love to hear your views.
Yeah, sure, my pleasure.
Thank you.
You want me to speak?
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you. Okay. For me, education is knowing about oneself. The word educare is a root word for the word education. Educare in Latin means knowing oneself. Education is not about knowing physics. Education is not knowing math. It's not about biology. It is not about marine engineering. It is not about surgeries. It is not about robotic sciences. It is not about space sciences. It is not about invention of bomb. Education for me is knowing oneself. Knowing oneself for me is knowing one's consciousness, understanding consciousness, the very nature of what we are. So a person who knows himself, for example, Jesus, the son of carpenter, is not educated the way we understand education, but is an extremely high educated man as far as this definition of education is concerned. Jesus, the son of a carpenter, is extremely educated than any educated person on the earth. A person who is educated in one dimension of social reality is absolutely illiterate and uneducated in several other dimensions of social reality. Education definition as per social reality is totally different. It is about going to schools, participate in projects, getting degrees, and all the skills and talents which are required for survival and thriving. Surviving and thriving. The purpose of education is all about that. But when it comes to the real education, it is about knowing oneself, knowing one's consciousness. Krishna in India, a cowboy, is born into a cow herding families. So many great masters, Buddha, the son of a king. So many people across the world are extremely educated. All the spiritual masters, all the awakened ones are highly educated for me. So in schools, we need to educate the children about the importance of real education, getting to one's roots, rooting one's consciousness, grounding oneself. These are the basic, as there are 3 R's in education, reading, writing, and arithmetic. In the education of social reality, there must be 3 R's in the real education. That is getting rooted. Second is getting rooted. Third is getting rooted. These are the 3 R's for me in the real education. So this type of education has to be incorporated in all institutions of the world. Be it Asia, be it Europe, Australia, Africa, everywhere. This type of education has to be incorporated, so that the wisdom which is born within, discovered within, can be applied to so many innumerable type of things in the social reality. All the social sciences, all the social arts. So these are my views about education, briefly speaking. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
So in the Latin genesis of the word educare is to also like bring out of darkness and into the light. That's knowing oneself and the soul self. And we look forward to actually bringing more spiritual values into the education system for the future. So I would like to invite Derek now to say, in terms of astrology, what do you see in the future education for people in general?
A general or specific comment.
And since our focus is on education,
yeah, but I would like, before I'll answer this, but I'd like to refer to Dr. Yugandhar there. For many years, I was involved, for 10 years, I was involved in a project that was initiated by Indian teachers in Europe, which was the creation of a university of planetary synthesis. And the concept which we were working with, we were Americans, Europeans, and Indians working to create a level of education, a syllabus that could be introduced at university level for people that wanted this form of adult education. Right? And it's still a very potent, thought form. The group disbanded when some of the leaders died, and this is the normal thing. But as an Aquarian approach, we have to approach these things from a constant group dynamics and not the focus upon individuals. Individuals can inspire and get the whole show moving, but then the group has to take over and take full responsibility for it. So that was in the 90s, and you can see that we have to keep experimenting with such ideas and thought forms, because it's probably more so now to anchor some of these ideas in the soil. My wife is an opera singer, and she's classical opera, but for the last 5 years, she introduces children to opera, and they create, as a group, they create a very living dynamic for kids from 5 to 10 years of age that have never been exposed to this form of creative activity. And I think last time she went through Norway and Denmark, there was 40,000 children that they had exposed for the first time to and this is what it means to bridge build in the true Aquarian sense. You bridge build by linking different disciplines. Right? So there's a lot of space to do this. I haven't ignored your question, but I just want to add on this other. Here in this part of the world, when children at the age of 14, 15, they have confirmation ceremonies, to illustrate the coming of age. But I've been very aware for years that these ceremonies are not ceremonies. It's mainly let's call it a religious church education. And with some other friends, we have set up a alternative confirmation ceremonies for young children, 14 and 15 years of age, to celebrate the transition from childhood to adulthood that comes outside of the normal church emphasis. And we do it in landscapes with very special kind of empowering thought forms and presence around us. But this is just examples of what I mean by stimulating the bridge building aspects to get individuals to look in terms of energy and see how all things are linked and are interactive. This is where I want to put, you know, more than the thought form of building a system within the existing system. I want to emphasize the movement of energy and get individuals to recognize that and enjoy multidimensionality.
Yes, beautiful. And this is multidimensionality actually really brings us to the energies of the sacred mysteries, the schools
Right.
of sacred mysteries. And this is where we need to go deepen into the soul learning of the individual, which then relates to also your expertise, which is the astrology and the constellation and the rays that we came in with. And then also to see that the education can be holistic and individualized to the gifts and capabilities of that particular soul incarnation.
Absolutely. But I give you one technical point on the astrological, that if you're a teacher, why is it that teachers aren't exposed to an awareness that every 12 years, you know, this is a cycle of the planet Jupiter. So every 12 years, it goes once around the zodiac. The sun does this one time a year. So Jupiter and the sun are linked in this sense. So every year there's a new batch of students that the teacher has, and they have Jupiter in a different sign, right? Now, there's a big difference if you're a teacher to deal with someone who, a group of souls that have got Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn, than if they have Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius. It's a completely different approach. But again, we don't, in a normal school system, we don't want to include that dimension. And I have my 3 kids are in a Steiner school, so there's a little bit more awareness about the link with the outer world and the inner world. So that there's another kind of situation, but it's a recognition, even with Steiner schools, that at the age of 12, like typical of the Jupiter characteristic, you reach out and go beyond family and school. So you start to connect with the wider world. So at that age, from that point on, we should start introducing the connection with the wider world. And that's where Jupiter connection with culture and other things. So there's certain astrological movements that would be appropriate in an archetypal sense for every human being to cooperate with. And then the individual horoscope will show certain, you know, is this person, you know, thought, feeling, or action orientated? You know, it's not difficult to apply that form of teaching to a school system. Right? But that will require that one has, you know, a respect for, you know, the astrological perspective.
Yes.
And it's really, in many ways, the theme that in like a partnership, if there isn't equality in the partnership, the relationship will not be a healthy one.
Yes.
One knows this from life. But where there is equality, then there's trust, then there's respect, then there's openness. So this is the point that professionally, one also needs to look at attitudes that one has with various colleagues and other areas of knowledge and learning. If the equality is there, the respect and trust and openness will be there. So we're back to basic human values.
Yes, that's just basic relationship. That's very true. And also the cycles, so that there'll be more consciousness, like in the Waldorf system of the 7-year cycle.
And take advantage of the opportunities that represents, because then the thought form is you are cooperating with universal cycles and energies. And that means that you then come away from, you know, the whole idea that we're isolated individuals, separate egos.
Yes.
Right? You're participating in a whole system.
Yes. And the time cycle, since we talked about time, like in Waldorf, there's a 7-year cycle of physical embodiment, and then the artistic aspects to 14, and then more the mental body that's being developed from 14 onwards. I think that makes such sense with a developmental stage of a young person. And,
yeah, as long as it's not rigidly applied. I mean, there's a recognition from 7 years, you know, the physical body, the next 7 years to 14, the emotional astral body, and the next 7 years, 14 to 21, the mental body. All that is quite right. But this is just the descent of a soul principle activating these various bodies that we are, you know, living with. So this could be easily applied in school systems, but the current educational system. So what are we talking about? The normal school system? Or are we talking about alternative educational system for young people? Or are we talking about on a university level? You know, the university level should be on a universal level, but is it?
Like the Nalanda University was, like in the 6th century, I believe, you know? It's 7 floors of university right along the Silk Route. And that was a thriving exchange of cultures and information on a spiritual level. So we have so much to do and be for the future. And I think Michelle indicated to me that it is really almost time to end. Would anyone like to comment?
Yes, I would add one, because you asked the question how we see education in future. So we have to talk about 3, or maybe 2 or 3 different aspects there. The one is the content, the other one is the form, and the third one is the environment. And the content should be given from, not from outside, but to prepare something from the outside on an environment which gives the kids or other people or anybody who is in education the chance to go there what's interesting most for them. So to learn by own intention. Yeah? So what we urgently need to change in our lives is to live not from outside to inside as we do now. What we need to fulfill, that we get money or whatever, or attention or good notes, but to bring our inside to outside. What is my issue, my value to the world, what I want to share, what I have on qualities and values, to bring it outside. And I see that from important. There are so many traumatized people in the world which has been traumatized from school. And when you ask people the really urgent question, why are you here on earth? Or in a different language, why did you incarnate? So incarnate, yeah, don't know. But when they understand the question, why are you here on earth and who are you? They are guided inside, and we need to come to stillness, to quietness. And from this quietness comes when you go in meditation, in quietness meditation, and just switching off all mind and obeying our breath. And when you come back to thinking, the first vision which comes up, or the first problem which comes to you, is the solution of that problem, or the vision is that what you bring on earth. That's the experience what I made from myself and many people. And that where my heart stands for, that where I have been in other dimensions, to bring that in from a higher dimension of myself to that 3D level, 4D level with love. And that's it what we need to change in our education future, to live from inside to outside, from our heart to the world.
Johannes, I could not agree more.
Beautiful. Yes. Most
Very, very beautiful.
And the tone. Thank you so much, Johannes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
To everybody, Johannes, Derek, for Romeo, for your wisdom in there as well, Dr. Yugandhar for joining the panel, to Dr. Lee, thank you very much, and to the team behind the scenes, enormous gratitude to you all. Please, Derek and Johannes, accept on our behalf from the World Parliament of Spirituality a certificate of gratitude and appreciation for your contribution to the Third World Parliament, the European leg of the tour. And feel free to join us on any of the tracks anytime throughout the rest of the week or live on YouTube as we stream. And I would love to have you join with me in just a moment of stillness and gratitude, as we share a collective prayer and thank our Divine Mother and Father for all that we are, for reminding us that unity consciousness lives in our hearts. It is at our core, and it is creating a ripple, reaching into the hearts of all who need to receive this to help them join us in this movement of grace and beauty and flow and glow. So much joy and love to all as we draw this session on day one to a close. And please accept our love. It's been an honor and a joy to spend this time with you.
Love to all of you, and thank you for your invitation, Dr. Yugandhar.
Wonderful session, Derek.
It's been wonderful, wonderful.
Thanks, Marian. Thanks, Geraldine. Thanks, everyone. Chinmay, Durjay, Pasha.